People don't think anybody's good. Good morning. Thank you. Please be seated. This morning's scripture is taken from the 111th Psalm. Praise the Lord. I'll give thanks to the Lord with my whole heart, in the company of the upright, in the congregation. Great are the works of the Lord, studied by all who have pleasure in them. Full of honor and majesty is his work, and his righteousness endures forever. He has caused his wonderful works to be remembered. The Lord is gracious and merciful. He provides food for those who fear him. He is ever mindful of his covenant. He's shown his people the power of his works by giving them the heritage of the nations. The works of his hands are faithful and just. His precepts are trustworthy. They are established forever and ever to be performed with faithfulness and righteousness. He sent redemption to his people. He has commanded his covenant forever. Amen. Good morning. We got junior presentations this morning.
Good morning, everyone. We have 4 presenters today: Emma Gabehart from Chattanooga, Tennessee, Michael Koenigs from Frankfurt, Germany, Lotta Malo from Nassau, Bahamas, and Colton Pettigo from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Emma.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Emma Gabehart, and I am up here today to present my junior project, which is the art of tarot card making. What exactly is tarot cards, and what is the history behind them? Tarot cards are a certain type of cartomancy or divination that is used to help a person during a situation by using cards and symbols to help them figure out what they need to know about the situation they are in. And it was used for cards games like Jeu du Tarot and similar games to 28 during the mid-15th century. But it was during the late 18th century is whenever it became useful for occult practices. Up here today, I've presented 2 cards to you. Both of these cards mean so much to me and have helped me learn a lot about myself and how I view the world. The first card being about Mac Miller. Mac Miller was a favorite artist of mine who sadly passed away. And his card up here today is the Death card. And how ironic that might be, the reason for it is because the Death card is about letting go and letting what happens, happens. And that's something he always preached in his interviews and in his music, is that at some point you have to take it one day at a time. And the video I have up here to present Mac is a video of the process of creating his cards and how I create all the cards.
Once a day I rise, once a day I fall asleep with you. Once a day I try, but I can't find a single word. I wonder what they know. I wonder if they ever even cared at all. I wonder, do they see their own reflection in the rain and look away? Everybody keep rushing. Why aren't we taking our time? Every now and again, baby, I get high. Don't ask me what I think. It never really mattered what I had to say. I just keep waiting for another open.
That was the process of creating the Mac Miller card, which means so much to me, and I know he meant a lot to plenty of others out there. The next card is the Little Peep card. And Little Peep is up here today because I had listened to him since early 2016 and had always been a big influence during my life because that was the darkest time I had reached. And this card up here today is the Sun card. The Sun card always represents new beginning, childlike behaviors, and having a fresh look on life. And while his music may not have been the brightest, the interviews that I always watched him in where he was always laughing and creating such a happy environment. And the photo I have up here today is the reference photo I used for the card, and the photo beside it is the rough sketch. As you can see, you have his adult face as the son, as he's looking down on his childlike self with a white horse in his hands, which the white horse indicates purity and newness in life. And that's the reason why Little Peep represents the sun card, is because his sun shines so bright in so many lives, even if his was not the brightest. The final step of my tarot deck was cleansing my deck. And the way I cleansed it was through circling and salt, which helps purify any bad energy that was created in it. And on top, you can see rose quartz, which is used to bring in love and happiness, amethyst for protection, and black tourmaline for spiritual protection as well. And the two feathers you see on the bottom are two feathers that I randomly found that I believe hold so much power to me, as well as rosemary, which helps further bring in love and protection. The plannings and setbacks that I had during this project was how the cards were made. I already bought a pre-made deck, which had a glossy overcover, which made it hard to paint and draw. But after a few coats and putting something hard on top to make sure it stayed put, it went really well, and everything else was really easy for the project, and it helped me learn a lot. It helped me learn my love for art, even if it's not where I want it to be or the skills that I need. How music played such a huge role in my life and how much it means to me, even though I never played an instrument. I always had to have music to get through a day or get the assignment done. And just overall new ways of thinking, because I got to reminisce on the memories I have with the certain songs that I've created for them. And at the end of this project, I would like to say thank you to my mom for helping me purchase the tarot deck and paints, as well as encouraging me. Miss Northrop for helping me set up the project over the summer and keep me going. Miss Cordell for helping me finalize and keeping me on track. My sister and her boyfriend for giving constructive criticism on how they believe the cards should think, and helping me realize everything that I need to know about the cards, and as well as my brother for helping with the same thing. And I want to thank all of you for listening.
Hello, my name is Michi Koenigs, and this is my first year at Web. For my junior project, I experimented with shoe designing and shoe creating. I chose this project because growing up, I've always had an interest in shoes. I also wanted to challenge myself in stepping out of my comfort zone and doing something I've never done before. This was also the first idea that I had when I thought about a project to do. I started off by choosing the silhouette that I wanted to customize. In my case, I chose the Nike Air Force One because it is used a lot to be customized. After I chose the silhouette, I designed it in a Photoshop program to get the first base down. Having the first base down, I then chose the materials I wanted to do the customization with. When I got the shoes, I started to tape off the excess parts I didn't want to paint and painted them. After that, I added different features like fur and leather to give the shoe more texture. I finished off by adding smaller details and correcting the smaller mistakes I made while painting. The materials I used for this project were fabric paint, art tape, the Nike Air Force One, an X-Acto knife, a glue gun, fake leather, fake fur, and Sharpies. The first shoe I did was in web school inspired colorway. For the colors, I chose navy, yellow, black, and white. I started off by taping off the uncolored parts and painting the tip and the eyesore of the shoe navy. After that, I cut out a swoosh out of fake leather, painted it yellow, and put it onto the shoe. I finished this shoe off by adding some black small details in the web screw logo, and after that, correcting the smaller mistakes I made while painting. The next shoe I did was a winter shoe. I did this shoe because I've never seen an Air Force One that looks like a winter shoe, and I wanted to try if I could do one. I started off again by painting the eye stay in the toe box of the shoe navy, and after that, I added fake fur for a more winter look. I finished this shoe off by adding small details, painting a logo, and again fixing my smaller mistakes. The challenges I faced during this project were that I had to make designs that would actually work and look kind of decent in reality. And after I made them, I would have to put these into reality, and this was really hard. It also took more layers than expected for the paint to look decent on the shoe, about 3. And while painting, I made a lot of smaller mistakes and worried a lot about them. But yeah, I learned during this project that the small mistakes I made during the project didn't have a huge impact on the final product, and that I shouldn't have worried about them so much. I also learned that designing is a lot of fun, but it takes a lot of time, practice, and work to actually look good and be good at it. When I first came into this project, I had high expectations, but in the end, the shoes came out differently than I thought. Worse in my case a bit. I learned that not everything comes out perfect the first time to do it, and that the final product always comes out differently than the way you expect it to be at first. These are the shoes in person. Yeah, I wanted to say thanks to my family for financial aid, my advisor, Mr. Finn, for keeping me on track with the project, Mr. Quinn and Mr. Stem for letting me use the art room and the art utensils, Amir and Grayson for helping me choosing the designs, Barking Pig Barbecue for financial aid, and all of you for listening.
Morning. My name is Lawson Miller, and this is my first year at Web. And for my junior project, I made a birdhouse. So why did I decide to make this birdhouse? Well, I wanted to try something different. See, I never did something like this before. I really wanted to learn from it. And I thought it was very creative. So I said, you know what, let me go try it. I thought it was also going to help me with the carpentry skills. And fun fact, at the dorm, there was a bird nest that was broken, and I said, I should try and make a home for that bird. So the materials I needed to carry out this project, I needed some wood, glue, nails, some tools, and paint, and a hook and a chain. Step 1 was making the plan. For me, step 1 was one of the hardest steps for me because, as you know, I never made a plan before. So I had to do a lot of research, I was watching a lot of videos of how to do this. So 1 year left, that was my first plan I kind of made. I had a lot of trial and errors, but it came out through. And just to make sure, I found one online too that was very similar to my plan. Yeah. And step 2 was getting the materials. It was It was a surprise to me because I'm a boarder, so going out places was gonna be a lot challenging for me, especially getting the tools and wood and stuff. But because there was a lot of wood and woods and tools here. I didn't really have to go anywhere to buy anything, so that was scary. Next was cutting the wood and putting it together. I see this again wasn't that hard, but I kind of did some errors too. I had a lot of problems with this because sometimes I cut the wood too short, or the how I lined the line up to cut it, it was very crooked. So I had to make sure the line was straight and the saw was gonna cut it. And when I put it together, we used the nail and glue, but there was some problem with the glue, so I couldn't glue it as properly for some reason. But we end up fixing it, and when we try to nail it, uh, I'll nail it, but it was I had some holes in it because I nailed it. So there was some holes on the top and holes on the side. So we had to use a putty to and sand it off so we didn't see it. Didn't see it. Next was just painting it. Nothing much to say about it. I just grabbed some blue paint because I didn't want it just to be a plain wood type thing. So I said, let me try, giving some color, some pizzazz to it. And that's it. And my final result. It wasn't that we had to drill like a hole inside of it on the top, but how this was, it was very. We had to do this like we had to put a small thick wood on the top, so we was able to put the hook into it, and I just said, let me put some white paint on the top so it looks something like a house instead of just having one color on it. I thought it would make more sense to do that. So what I learned from this, I learned patience is the key. When I first started this, I really thought it was going to be easy for me because my dad actually does some construction work, but it wasn't. I was getting upset and stuff a lot of times, and I really thought I was not gonna be able to do this. At that point, I was about to give up and try a different project, but I just decided just to just try it, see what I could do. Next, I learned how to use a lot of tools, especially a compound saw, just to cut. I learned how to cut straight. I also learned how to do the framing and the refurnishing of the wood. But will I do this for a living in the future? Probably not. But I want to at least know how to do some stuff that's under my belt. And I'll continue to learn more. I want to thank my parents for helping me with this plan, with the plans and stuff. I want to help Ms. Garcia for guiding me and helping me focus on my project. I also want to thank Mr. Morgan and the rest of the maintenance crew for helping me get the tools and the materials that was required for this project. And I want to thank you all for listening.
Hello, my name is Kai. This is my third year at Webb, and for my junior project, I wanted to refurbish my grandma's bench. So I didn't have a sander, so I had to do everything by hand, which took longer than I expected. This was the bench before I even did anything to it. It was all rusted and the paint was coming off. This was a bench my grandma loved, so I could have just went and bought her another one, but I knew that if I refurbished this, then my grandma would feel even more happy about it. This is after 3.5 to 4 hours of me using my hand to sand this thing all the way down. This is the first coat of paint that I put on it. I was unsure of what color I wanted, but I wanted a color that would stand out and would take a little bit longer to rust. This is when I finished everything, like all the paint that I had put on it. It took very long because I had to add a lot of coats just due because of the rust and stuff. So I had to go back to the store and buy more paint because I bought the little bottle. This, I was gonna originally leave it gray, but I just wanted something else to stand out instead of just being one solid color. And also my mom told me the white should be a good design just because of the shapes that's on the bench. This is this is a picture of the wax coating that I put on because it stays outside. So I wanted to preserve it a little bit longer. Why did I pick this project? My grandmother had this bench since my oldest brother was born, and he's now 20. So this bench has been in my family for a long time. And my grandmother, she goes outside no matter the weather and just sits outside and drinks our coffee on this bench. This bench means a lot, not just to me, but to my family, because everyone that's been to my grandma's house knows that this bench means a lot to her because of her husband bought this before he passed away. Challenges I faced, working in the heat, it was really bad because it would get hot and I would take a break, and my breaks were longer than I originally intended them to be. Another challenge I faced was soreness on my hands just because I had to use a hand sander, which you had to actually put a bunch of force just to get the rust off. Another challenge I faced was wasps. They were everywhere. I moved the bench a couple times, and I just don't like wasps because they hurt when they sting. What I learned from this project is little things that matter. Like I said before, I could have just bought her a new bench, but she would have been happy with it. But I know it would have meant a lot more if I would have spent my hard time working on this bench. I would not be a refurbisher, maybe because I didn't have the tools, but I just don't have the patience. I don't know why it's not popping up, but I'd like to thank Ms. Garcia for keeping me on track throughout my whole project and showing me the difference between love and just willing to do something. I'd like to thank all of y'all for listening.
Hi, my name is Colton Pettigo. This is my second year at Webb, and for my junior project, I created a web-themed cornhole board. When I first started deciding what I wanted to build for my cornhole board for my junior project, I originally wanted to do a doghouse. One, because it sounded easy to do, which isn't really good, but two, because I already had a dog. Though I decided not to because of the fact that for the past couple of years, people had already been building dog houses for their junior projects. So instead, I decided to do something unique. I decided to build a cornhole board. My first step of building a cornhole board was to take a 2x4 and measure to the point I needed to cut. I then made dots across the parts I needed to cut, and then took a tool called a square and made a straight line across those dots. I then took a saw and sawed across the line, making a straight line down. I repeated this process 7 more times, creating 8 cut and measured 2x4s. After that, it was time to attach. So I took 2 out of the 8 2x4s that had been cut and measured, attached them to create a 90-degree angle. I repeated the process 3 more times to create 4 90-degree angle pieces. I took 2 of those 90-degree angle pieces and attached them using screws and a drill to create a rectangular frame. I then took a piece of plywood and attached it to the top of the rectangular frame using screws and a drill to create the first part of the cornhole board. I then repeated this process for the other frame. After that, it was time to create the legs. I first used the compass to create a half moon shape on one of the sides of plywood, and then used a jigsaw to cut it out. Because it was a jigsaw, even though it cut it, it did leave some jagged marks, so I used a sander to sand everything down and make it smooth. After that, I repeated the process 3 more times so I'd have 4 legs in all. Next, I used 4 C-clamps, which would hold down the legs in place onto the rectangular frame. I then used a drill to cut through both the leg and the frame to create a hole. This would be where the bolt was placed, and then I would use a butterfly tap to hold it to tighten it up and hold it in place. The bottom right corner picture is a butterfly tap holding the bolt in place so that the leg can both move back and forth, which means it can stand up and be put back under it. The next step was to create the hole which the beanbags would be put in. So using a measuring tape, I found the top center, which was where the hole would be placed, and then used the compass to create a perfect circle. After that, I used a drill to drill a hole within the circle. The reason for this is because even though a jigsaw blade can cut, it has to have somewhere to put the blade. If I was cutting from the outside, I could easily cut in. But because I'm cutting from the inside out and creating an inside circle, I need a place to put the blade. So that's why I had a hole. So cutting out the hole, I repeated the process 1 more time so that the other rectangular frame would have a hole as well. After that, it was time to apply primer and wood putty. I first applied a coat of primer and then repeated the process many more times for both rectangular frames until I came to a shade I liked. After that, I applied wood putty. Wood putty was put within the holes the screws made when they were drilled in. The reason for this is that no one really wants just holes around a cornhole board. It just doesn't look good. So wood putty is placed within those holes that the screws is made, and then you take a sander and sand off the excess putty on top. So there's a straight, perfect line, straight, perfect top. On the bottom picture, there's a picture of some of it sand off. And in the corner, you can kind of see some of the brown dust from the wood putty. The next part was to paint. So painting a base layer of gold paint, I then taped off any parts I didn't want painted white. And within those parts that were not taped on, I painted white on. After it dried, I took off all the tape and cut out some stencils. Those stencils says Web Feet Class of 2022. And after gluing the stencils on, I spray painted and painted both navy paint on the board many times until I came to a shade I liked. On the right picture is of me fixing any mistakes I had made previously when the stencils came off. For the second board, on the other hand, though, I didn't have to put any gold nor white on there. All I had to do was paint multiple layers of navy paint. After that, I simply took stickers and applied them onto the board. I took the back of a paintbrush and pressed down onto the sticker so that when I pulled back the back of the sticker, it would stay on the board. Here's the final product. On the left, you see the cornhole board that only had paint. On the right, on the other hand, it's paint and stickers. While the one on the right is more gold and blue and navy, the one on the left for me is my favorite, as it represents hard work, and it also represents what an old-fashioned cornhole board would more look like. Bonding with my dad was something that was pretty cool. I don't really spend a lot of time with my dad, though we do spend a pretty good amount. We don't spend a lot of time doing things like this. So this was pretty interesting. I had no experience in any fields with woodworking or building or anything revolving around that. He, on the other hand, did. So when starting this project, he had helped me through it and taught me how to use a jigsaw safely, and also when drilling. I kind of knew how to drill before, but I also learned that when drilling, you had to make sure that it was at a perfect angle. Otherwise, the screw would simply go out the other side, and you would have to start all over with a new piece of plywood. I also learned patience. One of the things about patience is when sanding, it's pretty annoying. The thing is when you're sanding, you have to make sure that you don't apply too much pressure. Otherwise, you'll simply slow down the sander. So applying a light amount of pressure, even though it feels like you're taking forever, it makes it quicker. And while this is fun, I do not see a future in doing this. It takes too much time for one, and for two, it's just not something I'm very interested in. It may be a fun hobby I may pursue one day in the future, but for now, I think I'll stick to just going to school and possibly playing football once I get back. Special thanks to my dad for guiding me through this process and getting me the supplies, as I had no idea what I was doing at the start of this project. And Miss Otwater for helping me schedule.
All right, I have the joke of the day. Why did the bike fall over? Because it was too tired. The University of Memphis is virtually visiting today at 11:10 a.m. Register and score or stop by college counseling. Juniors are having their first college planning meeting this Wednesday during Feet Life. All juniors report to Barton Athletic Center at 2:25 for a class meeting with Miss Jones and Mr. Bridwell. Please bring your laptops. The middle school girls basketball team beat PCA 36-30. And all throughout this week, Student Council is hosting a canned food drive or just a non-perishable items drive. And the grade levels are split up between Mr. Callis and Mr. Cheeseman. And whichever grade levels don't bring in the most cans, that person will get pied in the face. So make sure to bring in your canned items. It's going to be going to a soup kitchen in Shelbyville. And during the holidays, it can get really tough. So just remember what we have and just to put it forward. And then Friday, there will be a 2-can jeans day on top of that. And that's when the person will get pied in the faces on Friday. And on Tuesday, there will be the varsity basketball games, the first ones of the season. They'll be at 6 and 7:30. And the theme's going to be blue and gold. So just come out in your school colors and show your spirit. We'd like to have a really good turnout to this game. Any middle school girls interested in playing lacrosse, please email Miss Caffrey before Thanksgiving break. That's ccaffrey@webschool.com. Lost and found. All items left in the Barton Gymnasium lost and found after Friday will be donated. Please take time this week to pick up any items you may have left laying around the gym before they are gone. And that's all. Are there any other announcements? Abigail?
Hi, I just wanted to come up here and announce last week's winners of WebWorldWide's advisory competition. So our winning advisory was Mr. Stem's advisory, so congratulations to them. And our top individual winner was JC Bateman. And JC, if you would find me some today, you can receive your Crumble gift card. And I want to remind all of y'all that this is the last week to donate. So please donate, because the top 3 winning advisors will win a Jeans Day sponsored by Web Worldwide. So please help us out. Thank you.
Okay, if Mr. Cheeseman were here, he would want me to remind you seniors to bring in your canned goods, because I can tell you, he's not a good loser. I'm just kidding. He's a great loser. Let's rise for the pledge, and let's have a great Monday. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Seniors, you are dismissed first. Have a great day.